Crenshaw.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for being here. It's great to be in August's district. Wonderful town in Midland. Been here many times, and it's a place like this that keeps America afloat in hard times, and that's absolutely true. It's probably why J.P. Morgan's CEO Jamie Dimon called a world without fossil fuels a road to hell. And so I kind of want to examine what a road to hell might look like. For starters, you essentially lose the ability to heat your home or cool your home. That ability, by the way, saves millions of lives a year. You'd have to do away with all the things that you need to build a modern society: steel, concrete, plastics, all gone. No roads, no bridges, no buildings, no hospitals, no cars, no military defense, phones, computers, no other modern luxuries. All gone without fossil fuels. And oh yeah, fertilizer too. Synthetic fertilizers are one of the main reasons we can feed billions of more people than we ever thought possible. And that's made because of natural gas. The recent societal collapse in Sri Lanka might be a great example of what happens when radical environmentalists get their hands on the reins of policy and insist upon organic-only fertilizers. So no air conditioning, no hospitals, no biomedical devices, no cars, no planes, maybe mass starvation. That does sound kind of hellish, to be honest. It's more than that. I mean, it's the basic things we need to stay healthy. It's antihistamines, antibiotics, cough syrups, lubricants, creams, ointments, any gels, processed plastics, which are made for heart valves and other specialized medical equipment. Petrochemicals are used in radiological dyes and films, intravenous tubing, syringes, oxygen masks. We could go on and on and on, but if you took away petrochemicals and then you looked around the room, you would watch basically everything disappear. That's pretty amazing. And it's places like this that help us maintain the wonderful reality that we all live in. I'm concerned, though, about the investment in this important industry. Recently, J.P. Morgan head of oil and gas research, Christian Malik, said the bank had identified a $600 billion shortfall of upstream investment needed between now and 2030 to meet what he called a muted view of global oil demand. I'm wondering if you all can expand upon that point. We'll start with you, Mr. Pruitt.
Yes, that's it. I've read that research. We're investing $400 billion in oil and gas development, exploration and development now. We were investing over $800 billion. Researchers think we need to invest about $1 trillion a year, which happens to be what's being invested in renewables now, which is great, but there's an imbalance. And so there's so much capital flow to the low return investments in renewables, which we need to do, but there's too much capital flowing there. It reminds me of the various oil booms where too much money flowed to our industry and we destroyed value. It's happening in the renewables at the expense of the upstream and midstream oil and gas development. So unless that rebalances, we will be short oil and natural gas in this world within the next 2 years, and it will be very economically damaging.
And maybe you could also talk about some of the end uses of the products that many of your members pull from the ground. You know, maybe expand upon the long list that I just gave.
Well, I don't know that I can. That was comprehensive. It's very impressive. But you know, one thing that people miss is the amount of petroleum that goes into making a wind turbine or a solar panel. There's a massive amount of coal that's used to burn the silicon to make a solar panel. The components of a wind turbine are resins and petroleum-based products, and the amount of mining that goes on, which is all diesel-driven equipment to mine lithium and cobalt for batteries. There's a huge supply chain that depends on petroleum to make renewable power possible.
And it's a pretty dirty supply chain. Ms. Bong, I want to come to you on this because you've mentioned that here in Midland we produce one of the cleanest, most greenest barrels of oil. I'm paraphrasing, I think, what you said, but you know, I tend to agree. I've seen research that says that American natural gas is 42% cleaner on a life cycle basis than, say, Russian natural gas. Can you speak to that and how your industry here is cleaner than the rest of the world? Is it the point we're making here is demand is going to increase around the world no matter what? So somebody's got to produce that. Should it be us or should it be the Saudis?
I think that's an excellent point. One of the ways that I think we produce greener and a better barrel of oil here is that we're looking for ways to capture emissions before we're required to. And we see that as destruction of value. If we have to vent or flare, we're actually destroying value and losing money. And so we need to have access to be able to capture that and get it to market. We require permits to be able to build the midstream pipelines to get that gas to market. And so we need y'all's help to get that accomplished.
How much better could we do for the environment if we were allowed to build more pipelines more quickly?
I think that we could come close to solving some of, I don't know if we could permanently solve, but from an oil and gas perspective, we could alleviate most of the methane concerns for those kind of emissions if we had access to the pipeline permits that we need.
Thank you, and I yield back.
Chair, I'll now go to the gentleman